raises some concerns, and I see some of my other committee members raising some eyebrows here. Part of the concern here is, if these are one-time monies, what is the vision for sustainability? One. Two, we already make a substantial investment in outreach to begin with. And I'm unclear why, for such a small pot of money, we would put it back out to bid to go to individuals who may or may not have the long-term capability of carrying this out, when there doesn't seem like there's a plan for future year funding for this work, when we have clearly made investments in CBOs to do street-based outreach. If you refer to page 85 of the evaluation, it specifically says, measure-wise street outreach strategies based on practices from a successful youth violence prevention programs in Boston. It does connect with the very target populations it seems like this proposal is aiming to do. How is this different from what we're already doing?
Can I leverage a couple of questions
Sure,
on that? So
please
are
do.
you taking notes? Because the list is getting pretty long here. We are focusing now on entering into an outcomes evaluation. How does this investment tie into that evaluation so that we can actually get a very specific notion of the efficacy of this money spent on behalf of Measure Y?
So a couple of different responses, and I'm happy to answer more if I didn't understand the committee. There are existing street outreach efforts in Oakland. Our intent would be to further invest in this strategy for a couple of different reasons. One, because it's a promising strategy. Two, because there are we have available to us additional resources that, if we put it where things are working, we aim to have a greater impact. So the idea would not be to create an RFP that created something out of whole cloth that then could not be continued. The point of the RFP would be to drive the city's investment, the $575,000 city investment, into things that are on the ground, that are working to enhance them where the enhancement is needed. What we've seen through street outreach, the more you invest in the hotspot areas with this strategy, and the more that strategy is a central component for reducing and preventing violence in that area, the more of an impact you'll be able to have. We've seen investments from the county, from the state. As I indicated, this is something that has worked in other cities. We want to put our money into that same way of that same vision, that same strategy of investing in the hotspots.
So I'm sorry.
And just a couple of other comments. With regard to how does this connect to existing Measure Y grantees, I think that was the question. How does this connect to existing street outreach strategies? As I understand it, and I'm new to understanding all the complexities of the various programs in place, but as I understand it, street outreach is broadly defined. We're specifically looking to enhance the type of street outreach that reaches the highest risk young people and adults as defined by proximity to violence. That is the specific group of youth and adults that we're trying to connect with through this street outreach. So just to be clear on the scope there.
What it raises for me is $375,000 in the larger scheme of the Measure Y investment is relatively small. Mm-hmm. And really, how many people are we talking about hiring for $375,000? Why wouldn't we, and this was a question that I think I raised at the last meeting, why wouldn't we just strategically invest in the grantees that we've already identified through a competitive bid process? It seems to me that there's a targeted, there's a desire to target the investment in 6X and 34X, which I'm unclear where they fall on the stressor list, but it seems to me we would just do a scan of our existing grantees and bolster their capacity to do the work for a couple of different reasons. One, when this body learned in April that in fact for our outreach strategy, we were spending the bulk of our money on case management, the Department of Human Services came back and said that in fact they were requiring our grantees to do on-the-ground street-based outreach. You'll recall that at our last meeting, they actually reallocated funding away from the service providers at Casamont to move them to Highland Hospital. So it just seems to me we have a larger investment in outreach, and still not clear in terms of the specifics about how this $375,000 aligns with our current investment, issue number one. Issue number two is at our last meeting we heard from the faith-based community out of West Oakland. And based on the criteria that you have set out, it requires a match of the funds. And my consideration is that explicitly disenfranchises a significant number of folks who are not already funded. And so if the desire was to give funding to a new set of grantees, it seems by virtue of the criteria, it doesn't really allow for new grantees if that was in fact a target for this proposal. And then lastly, I think the report says that it's urgent to act now to actually get the funds on the ground. It seems to me that if time is of the essence, that we would just give the money to the grantees who are already doing it and doing it effectively, as opposed to taking the time and the administrative cost to put it back out to bid.